This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, April 24th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. Last summer, Saskatoon City Council ordered a safety road review at one of the city's busiest intersections. And today, it made some decisions on the changes that would stem from it, following impassioned calls from cyclists. Dane Patterson has more.
Here we are again.
Todd Fox is back at Saskatoon Council again, lobbying for changes to the intersection where his wife, Natasha Fox, was struck and killed while riding her bicycle. It happened here at College Drive and Wiggins Avenue in May of 2023. It was the catalyst for his advocacy for better bike infrastructure in the city.
Whether you like it or not, this is your top priority. Not because I say so, not because Natasha was killed at this intersection, because it's one of the most important intersections in our city.
Fox was among the advocates who disagreed with city administration. He wants a bike lane that leads into a bike-specific box at the edge of Wiggins Avenue at the intersection. The city's transportation director believes it would be a false sense of security for cyclists. He doesn't recommend it, saying it's not wide enough.
Quite frankly, just putting a bike box in a painted line will not improve safety. It will lower the level of safety. So if we're going to do something on Wiggins, let's put in a proper protected bike lane.
Mega says the safer option would be an overhaul on Wiggins Avenue and widening the road to make more space for protected bike lanes. City Council voted in favor of adding a bike lane, a bike box, and prohibiting right turns on red lights at the intersection. It has voted to set aside $60,000 for the project, but it's unclear how it will come together. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Transit drivers in Saskatoon say violence on buses is getting worse in the city and that they're scared to go to work. The Transit Workers Union says that fear is due to the abuse drivers face from passengers while on the job. So far this year, bus drivers have reported more than 30 incidents involving passengers. They range from fare disputes to aggressive behaviors to verbal abuse and even assaults.
They're getting kicked, punched, spat on, threatened, and bear sprayed. And we've seen, in recent months, knives and guns on the buses as well. Our operators are actually afraid to get out of the bus in the downtown terminal to use the washroom.
I believe it's still very much tied to the drugs and the toxic drug supply that's in our community, and the fact that Saskatoon in many ways is a place that more and more people from across the province end up coming to because we have more services and so on, and it is overwhelming our systems. We've really been working with our transit drivers, putting in safety shields. We're going to have transit safety officers on buses, that are getting started this summer.
The city says it's launching a new program that involves putting community support officers on routes where most of these incidents are happening. It starts in July. Also at Saskatoon City Council this afternoon, councillors voted for the city to build its own organics processing facility.
So I intend to vote against option 3. Like I said, not because I don't think that our folks have done a good job. It's just that I would be interested in having that information from the private sector and knowing actually in more detail what those comparative costs are going to be.
The math comes out pretty clear that the certain and least costly option for residents is the one that we've been presented. Residents that I speak to are prioritizing that. They want this program to be provided as efficiently as possible, and they want certainty and stability in the utility rates. So that's what I'll be voting in favor of today.
The vote passed narrowly, 6-5. The debate came after the city canceled an agreement with a third-party contractor last year. That happened when the original location for the facility was rejected. Saskatoon launched its Curbside Organics or Green Bin program in May of 2023. According to the presented report, initial costs to build the facility are estimated at $22 million, funded through a loan repaid by utility fees. The facility could be operational in 2026. Saskatchewan does not have a single pediatric gastroenterologist, and as we've been reporting, children have to go out of the province to see one. Today, a Saskatoon family traveled to the legislature to speak about the toll that it's taking. They're making their second trip to Toronto next week.
This government needs to smarten up and get these doctors here for these kids. Look at this boy. Can you not see what it's doing to him? Leaving his family behind to another province, 3 provinces over, when we have a hospital here in Saskatoon.
Zach Angan has a rare condition that makes it difficult for him to swallow, let alone eat solid food. He gets nutrition through what's called a G-tube in his stomach. Zach was seeing a specialist in Saskatoon, but they closed their practice. The family is now seeking care in Toronto, but can't afford the flights and hotel bills.
We have been reduced to bottle drives, GoFundMes. We're doing a supper just to try and raise money to get back to Toronto on May 7th.
When it comes to medical procedures that aren't provided in province, and when patients need to be sent out of province or perhaps out of country, that the procedures themselves are covered, but travel and accommodations and those sorts of costs are not covered.
The health minister met with the family today and says he hopes they'll receive financial support from charities. He also said the health authority is working to finalize contracts with 2 gastroenterologists with an eye on recruiting 3, even 4 in total. The leader of the Conservative Party of Canada is facing questions after videos circulated showing him meeting with participants at a carbon tax protest camp and using vulgar language to describe the Prime Minister and his policies. Kate McKenna reports, and a warning to viewers, the story contains some profane language.
23 days we've been here.
The leader of the Conservative Party of Canada meeting with protesters at an encampment in the Maritimes.
No, we were just going along the highway. I had heard about you guys on the news.
Anti-carbon tax protesters camped out for weeks, showed Polyev how they're crashing in the backs of vehicles.
And you sleep back there. That's your little dog.
That's my little dog.
Polyev says they've got the people's support.
Everyone's happy with what you're doing.
And had blunt criticism for the Prime Minister.
People believed his lies. Everything he said was bullshit.
But some of the same protesters have been involved in protesting at the New Brunswick-Nova Scotia border for years, originally about pandemic public safety measures. At least one F. Trudeau flag was visible in the video.
And so when I axe the tax, then you guys are going to be able to go home.
Every politician has to make choices about what kind of leader they want to be.
Today, the Prime Minister made the link between those protests and extremists.
Are they a kind of leader that is going to exacerbate divisions, fears, and polarization in our country, make personal attacks, and welcome the support of conspiracy theorists and extremists?
He also called on Polyev to denounce a recent endorsement from Alex Jones, a right-wing commentator who called the Sandy Hook school shooting a hoax.
The fact that Pierre Poilievre hasn't stood up to condemn that endorsement, the fact that he continues to encourage the kind of divisive approaches to Canada that I don't think Canadians want to see, really shows that he will do anything to win.
In a statement, Poilievre's spokesperson distanced his leader from the endorsement, but didn't outright condemn it, saying, "We do not follow the individual you mention or listen to what he has to say. It is the endorsement of hardworking, everyday Canadians that Conservatives are working to earn." Poilievre's office defended his visit to the protest, saying the Conservative leader made the stop because he's a vocal advocate of scrapping the carbon tax. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Ukrainian newcomers to Saskatchewan are struggling to learn English. Ukrainian groups in English classes say they've got waitlists for months, and while funding could help, they say the community could too. Shlok Talati has more.
The war in Ukraine has continued for more than 2 years now. According to estimates by the United Nations, that's left more than 6.5 million people displaced. More than 7,000 of those Ukrainians have found a home in Saskatchewan. But they say the settlement services haven't kept pace. That's specifically true when it comes to English classes.
I'm sitting in our classroom where we teach English classes to the newcomers, right? But as you can see, it's empty today in the afternoon. So it could be filled with students today, and they could take the class right now.
Zakarchuk says it would help if the community came together and volunteered. The province requires newcomers to give an English test. A person can only enroll for an English class once they have the test results. But getting a test could be a challenge. There's a waitlist for those too.
I heard that hiring managers look at the level of English, but for example, if I fail, so it will be quite hard to wait like 5 months to start my classes and improve my English.
The Saskatchewan Intercultural Association holds English classes at 29 different locations in Saskatoon. Its waitlist is more than 70 long. The average wait time is 2 to 3 months, but some people wait more than 4 months. The group's language coordinator says the backlog could have far-reaching implications.
If they don't know English, they can't get driving license. They can't even address their basic needs in Canada. So English learning, especially for lower English, is like lower levels. It's very essential to even address their basic settlement need.
When asked about the months-long waitlist, the provincial government said it's working with local service providers to align funding with demand. Shlok Talati, CBC News, Regina.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. We see Shlok outside in a short sleeve shirt. It was almost hot today.
Yeah, kind of almost feeling like summer at times. Yesterday we thought was really warm. Things just kept warming up today, and again, well into the 20s, or at least just over that in south and central Saskatchewan. You can see where temperatures drop off, though. You go further to the northeast, and low single digits in places like Collins Bay and into Stony Rapids. And even if you go into northeastern Manitoba, we're actually seeing temperatures into the minus single digits there in some places. But even still, at the 6 o'clock hour, 20s on all locations here throughout south and central. Should be sitting around 15 or so this time of year for daytime highs. Lots of sunshine as well through the day, but you start to see a little bit of some cloud cover now moving into western sections of the province, and a lot of that blanketing Alberta too, and that is a result of this low pressure system which has developed over Alberta. That starts moving into the province tonight. What that's going to do, a couple of things. It's going to bring some cloudiness through south and central sections tonight. Also going to pick up the winds still a little bit at times, which we've seen be breezy here and there. And it's going to bring some moisture to the north, starting as rain overnight tonight, and then by tomorrow morning in the early afternoon, that's switched over to probably wet snow in far northern sections. We do begin to see things clear out, though, tomorrow through the afternoon for the rest of the province. And that, as that low pressure system begins to move out, means that we'll continue to see sunny skies likely for the rest of the work week and into the weekend, too. Now, a bit of a computer graphics issue this afternoon means that this model is not showing us the actual rainfall totals that we're going to be seeing, but you can still see the contours here in the legend off to the left. Could be upwards of maybe 10 to 15 millimeters in this part of the province. Uranium City, Stony Rapids, that of course does not factor in the fact that we could be seeing that wet snow as well. Again, this model saying maybe upwards of 7 to 10 centimeters, but again, a lot of that probably melting on contact, not really accumulating, and it won't last long as things are going to clear out and warm up afterward. Winds, again, still a little bit breezy, especially in eastern sections through the night tonight, gusts upwards of 40 kilometers an hour. Tomorrow afternoon, things should be relatively calm with things picking up here and there. And then Friday again, that's when those gusts will start to pick up once again. You'll see that here in our 7-day forecast for Regina. Again, gusting to 50 on Friday. But until then, another warm day tomorrow in Regina. Some cloud cover to start the day, then clearing out through the afternoon. The weekend temperatures drop back closer to seasonal, but we continue to see that sunshine and then warming up again into those mid to upper teens as we hit the beginning of next week. It still could be a little bit breezy. Those overnight lows staying above freezing, save for maybe overnight Saturday into Sunday. For Saskatoon, probably just a mix of sun and cloud with mostly sunny skies by the end of the afternoon tomorrow, and then a little bit breezy for Friday with mostly sunny conditions. Again, the weekend, things warming up as we see a little bit of increasing cloudiness for Monday, and then seasonal conditions for Tuesday and Wednesday. So yes, feeling like summer at times today, Sam, and it looks like could be feeling that way over these next few days too.
I'm very keenly watching the overnight lows because I remember in our gardening piece last week, they talked about 10 degrees sustained before you can do any kind of planting. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, we're getting close though some days.
Sustained.
Yeah, a little while to go.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
We have a follow-up now to a CBC News investigation into abusive e-transfers. It looked into the steps that banks are taking to stop abusers from sending harassing or threatening messages through online banking. More people have come forward to discuss abusive messages they've received. Katie Nicholson has the latest.
Did I show you the message he sent me on TikTok?
Emma Parsons shows her mom, Carmen, all the unwanted messages she got from her ex after she broke up with him.
Well, they were very abusive messages. They were mean. They were trying to belittle me and bully me.
She blocked him on her phone and every platform, but the abusive messages continued, this time attached to e-transfers.
Well, so the first one was $1, and then I think the other ones were less than $5.
It's a problem Australian banks decided to tackle head on.
I read one that was a series of 900 messages, one sent at a time, saying things like, I want to kill you, I want to kill them all.
Catherine Fitzpatrick spearheaded many of the changes the industry made, including in-app reporting of abusive messages and programs which block abusive language. It even made one of them free to all banks worldwide. Fitzpatrick shared those solutions with the International Banking Federation, which includes the Canadian industry, 2 years ago.
No one deserves to have this abuse. So I would really encourage every bank in Canada to look at the way the Australian banks, some of the UK and the New Zealand banks are starting to move on this problem.
Scotiabank, RBC, TD, CIBC and BMO did not answer CBC News' questions about what steps they were taking to address the issue. They deferred to the Canadian Bankers Association. In an email, it said its members have policies and procedures in place to protect customers from harassment and encourages people to report abuse to the bank and the police. Emma Parsons' mom, Carmen, wants Canadian banks to do more to prevent abuse.
Why do we wait until someone tells them they have to? Especially in this case where it's doing good and would be useful and helpful.
A small change that would have made them feel a lot safer. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
Police have noticed a major shift in where cars stolen in Canada end up. Many are still exported out of the country, but criminal syndicates are now selling more of them here, often to unsuspecting buyers. As David Common explains, loopholes in provincial vehicle registration systems are part of the problem.
All of these vehicles are stolen. Land Rover, Lincoln Navigator, a Maserati over here, very high value vehicles among the 1,000+ that are being stolen in the Greater Toronto area each and every month. It's getting a lot more violent with carjackings and home invasions. And a lot of these vehicles have traditionally been moved out of the country, sold abroad. But what is increasingly happening is something called revinning. And I want to show you what that's about. They're keeping the vehicles in Canada and selling them to people. Sometimes they know what's going on, sometimes they're unsuspecting. But it has to do with the VIN, the vehicle information number here. That digit is supposed to be unique to every single vehicle. But what criminals have done is put a sticker with a different VIN right on top of it. So where do they get that number? They get it very often from a vehicle that's been totaled, that is very similar to the original one, or a vehicle that is on the road and registered in another province or U.S. state. And you may sit there and say, how is it that two vehicles with the same VIN numbers can be on the road? That shouldn't happen, and it shouldn't. But government registration systems don't actually talk to one another. So here in the region of Peel, just north of Toronto, officers have been focusing on revinning because it is exploding in number. And what they have found is a number of arrests of individuals. We were present for one of them, a 24-year-old who was arrested facing 168 counts of criminal charges. And it is alleged that he was getting these forged VIN numbers and then moving on to dispose of these vehicles. They point to his social media where there are people thanking this individual for getting them great deals on vehicles.
I told him I got my money up, I need plates, I need a car, and he got it just like that.
You give me your cash, you got your car, you on the road. You ain't gotta go to Service Ontario, you don't gotta do no running around.
Again, another fraudulent VIN, and this is happening increasingly in part because of these loopholes that exist in the registration system. So police, insurance, and other officials are saying this needs to stop. Yes, attack the problem at export at the ports, but that's not the only problem. That the revinning, keeping stolen vehicles in this country and selling them, that is increasingly a challenge. David Commons, CBC News in Brampton, Ontario.
Canadian consumers tightened their belts another notch in February. Stats Canada report retail sales slipped by 0.1% that month. The biggest pullback in spending took place at gas stations and fuel vendors, where sales fell more than 2%. Several other sectors also showed declines, indicating Canadians are still struggling under high prices and high interest rates. It's the second monthly drop in a row. Retail sales were down 0.3% in January. The clock is ticking for the social media app TikTok. The funding bill signed by U.S. President Joe Biden today contains contentious legislation that could ban the platform in the United States. The new law calls on TikTok's Chinese parent company to sell the app by the end of the year or be blocked in the United States. American lawmakers say the platform could be a national security threat. TikTok has 170 million users in the U.S. The company says it will fight the bill, calling it unconstitutional. And that is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/Sask or /Saskatoon. You can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.